Recording started.
All right, so welcome to Free Association. It's Friday evening, it's the 16th of December 2022. It's just about quarter two, it's 22:08 in the evening. So I've got 2 hours before I do my official radio show, and I thought I'll do a talk stream for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. Just talk randomly and see what happens. The show's called Free Association after all, so randomness coming out of my mouth is the nature of the show, even though that's not what happens quite often. Some of the time, let's sort these out. Some of the time, I prepare it. Some of the time, it just is randomness. But to give you a little bit of history, the show began on in March 2020, the week before we were told to lock down. So, and it was all very improvised. I was working with my mobile phone, didn't have a laptop, didn't have any computers at all at that point. All I had was a mobile phone, so I was just sitting talking into my smartphone basically, and that was the format. It had previously been a philosophy group in Newcastle on a Saturday evening. I was running the group in a vegetarian cafe at 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening, and we had 6 or 7 people fairly regularly over about a 6 month period. So I was a reasonable group, all in all. Uh, People disappeared during the summer, and it never really got going again. I never started it up again. So got 6 months out of it though. So I'm not going to complain. And it turned into that was the previous year, so that was 2019. So in 2000 beginning of 2019 until about July 2019, it was a philosophy group called Free Association. And then the following year, actually, I was asked by somebody to do a radio show, and she introduced me to the board at Revolution Radio. And at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just agreed to do an hour show on a Saturday afternoon, and a month to work out what I was going to do. So I booked in the radio show. I don't know whether it was December or early January, mid January probably, because I know I had at least a month. So that would take us to the end of February, first week in March, which is when I think I started the 10th of March, something like that. So 10th of March 2020. I'll work it out. I'll figure out when the first day was. The first show. It was 4 p.m. I know that much. And I think it was the 10th of March, but I'm going to have to double check that. It was definitely the beginning of March. It could have, I don't know whether it was the first or second Saturday in March. There was a Mercury retrograde just coming to an end because I was trying to avoid the Mercury retrograde. I remember that. So it was the last Saturday of the 3 week retrograde period. And then obviously there's a couple of weeks of shadow on either side. So I had a couple of shows. It took me about a month to get going with the show because there was just all kinds of technical issues going on because the technology I was using was not really adequate. Number one, I don't get a particularly good signal on the phone in here. So it was a phone before this, so it was a Samsung J3 I think I was using at the time, which is a fairly limited Android phone. Was that the phone before this? Yeah, 22, 21, 20. Yeah, so I replaced it last year. So it would have been the J3 that I was using, and it wasn't really up to the job simply because I don't get the best of signals in here. And now I've got Wi-Fi and I can do it on the phone, but I couldn't really do it. It wasn't kind of it just wasn't stable enough. The signal that I get, the mobile phone signal was dropping out all the time. So I went from the J3 to I bought a laptop about a couple of months in. So April, May time, 2020, I bought a laptop from China, and I think it was about then. Yeah, about that time, and that's kind of been adequate for what I wanted to do for 2 years. It lasted me 2 years, and it was functional, and it enabled me to do things in the format that I had, which is kind of a stream of consciousness plus video clips. And that worked for a couple of years. And then I've upgraded the laptop in the middle of this year. And I bought a computer as well, a reconditioned computer from a friend of mine. So I've now got a computer in the living room and the laptop in the kitchen. And I've bought audio interfaces and proper microphones. So I'm getting there slowly but surely. We're getting there. So that's kind of the history of it. So I've skipped a little bit, but the format is still basically 15-20 minutes of me at the beginning, then a 10 or 15 minute video, then some more of me, and another 10 or 15 minute video, and then the last 10 minutes is me. So it's kind of alternating. That's the format that I kind of like for Saturday. The new show that I'm doing after the 4 o'clock show, so I'm doing a show at 5 o'clock my time, which is 12 noon East Coast time. I don't know what that's going to be yet. It may be a round table. What I want to do though is, because we're preparing everything in advance for that one, what I'll do is I'll record my thoughts about the material that we're using for the show, and then I'll edit some of my thoughts into a piece that I can use as an intro or as a commentary, as a starting point, and then whoever's the guests for the week, 1 or 2 guests it'll be, can respond to my commentary, and then we'll play a video possibly. I don't know, I'm making this up as I go along. Play a little bit of video, 10 minutes maybe, and then everybody comments on that, then another 10 minutes of video and we all comment on that, all with the same theme running through it. So it's going to be a history show, so the theme potentially is going to be lost civilizations, British history that isn't recognised, Irish history that isn't recognised, all sorts of parts of history that aren't official and may not even exist. There's no way to know for sure, but we're going to comment on those a bit at a time anyway. So a 2-hour show will be about an hour of video or audio, plus about maybe 45 minutes of the guests, plus about 10 minutes of me in commentary. So I'm working on about 50-50 live and 50% video. At the moment, that's how I'm going to do it in my head. If it turns into some other proportion, then I'm okay with that. It might end up being 70-30 live. And the more live conversation we can get going, the better, as far as I'm concerned. But we're just going to have to wait and see, because it's all brand new stuff. It's new material for me that I don't really know very much about. So I'm going to be relying on the guests. All right, so that's pretty much it. I've done 10 minutes, so that's all right. I'll see you a bit